I mean, I couldn't believe it.
Hey, it's me, and I'm JV, the Antique Autistic, and today I am really excited to be spending time with my good friend, Kathy Lisner, Xenia, Meow Meow Grant. Meow. Meow, meow, meow. Who, along with Jim Sinclair and Donna Williams, was the founder of ANI, the Autism Network International, which many recognized as the very first start of the autistic activism movement. Now, she's younger than me, but she'd still, I guess, be included as far as, compared to most other autistics, aged.
Aging.
And they know so little about us, you know, the experts.
I mean, in the United States, in the United States, they don't even think about people who are 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, you know, whereas in Britain, they already are talking about aging and autism. In fact, Jessica Kingley, publishers, and I have a book, and I'll show you the book, already talked, you know, it's from various different authors, but aging and autism. They haven't even touched it in the United States. You have to go across the pond to England.
And they don't know about it either that much, do they?
More than the Americans do.
I think the only way, and that's why I'm doing this, is because, you know, when you meet one autistic, you've met one autistic, but meeting me and think all autistics are like me, you know.
Oh, yeah.
No wonder they think we're crazy. But
no, the thing is...
Or just you, or just...
Anybody.
Because we're all so different.
Not only
but we do have commonalities.
They're common, but not only are we all so different, but what thing is that it is a lifespan issue. I mean, I've talked to people on the autism spectrum who are over 70. I mean 70. That was they were born in 1945 at the end of World War II. I mean, and a lot of these people didn't know what they had for decade after decade after decade after decade. They find out in the 21st century, and then it makes sense when they look back over. But the thing is our society, American society, is so short-term, you know. And they're just beginning to talk about the over 18s and the over 21s, much less people who are over 30.
I know.
And it's outrageous. I mean, because not only is it a lifespan issue, but people change over time. Someone who's 70 is not the same as they are when they're 50, and certainly not when they're 21.
And that's outside of the autistic.
It's just being human.
Yeah.
It's just being human.
I want to ask you about specifics as far as if you've seen differences as you age, cognitive or whatever.
Specifics.
Things becoming easier, things becoming more difficult.
In Atlantics either, and in the Indian Ocean, and the Arctic.
And that too. Meow. And if you'd like to share a favorite country.
Oh, and the Olympics are in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
So,
yeah.
What do you see? I know, I look at myself as age. I know I've gone through a lot in the last 10 years, and I don't know how much of it is like because of the trauma of the last 10 years, or because of medication I'm on for cancer, or what different things, and how much of it is maybe because of the changes because I'm autistic, or maybe getting...
Just to make sure.
I don't know. But I know some things have changed. One thing that's easier for me is making friends, but I think that's because I know autistic people.
I think that
I can have friends.
I think that, and I think, the older I get, the more self-confidence I gain, the older I get, because I know who I am more.
Right.
When you're, And I think also our society talks about diversity, and that's actually a good thing, not a bad thing, to talk about diversity and multiculturalism, because you can't, okay, burp was not the answer. You can't expect, you know, everybody to come from the same thing. One of the problems in American society today is people learning how to live with these differences.
Right.
I mean, and because you know, a lot of us on the spectrum have certain areas that we are interested in. I just happen to be interested in history and politics and anything related to the area. And it's 3 or 4 or 5 different fields that are related. And of course, things that meow and purr.
And Terry Lee said hi, by the way.
Who?
Terry Lee.
Okay, the Canadian.
Tell
her, oh, Canada. Tell her I like Justin Trudeau.
One thing, okay, first the positive. I guess the one most positive thing I can say about changes in my life, see, so much has to do with what's going on, the changes around us too.
Yeah, exactly.
But one thing that I used to be very black and white in my thinking, and I've become
more gray.
No, more open-minded. More open-minded.
Okay, more open-minded.
In a rainbow-like way, not a gray-like way.
Understood. One of the things as I get older, I gain more and more self-confidence. I think another thing is that by gaining more self-confidence, that means I'm more willing to do things. But my auditory processing has gotten worse. I live with that, you know, it's just rocks in the road. I live with that, but you know, life just goes on. I mean, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the indifferent. You know, life is meant to be lived. I mean, I think our society mistakes that if we have an easy life, it's a good life. That's not necessarily the case.
Absolutely.
People, you know, and not only that, but I think also whatever, you know, when people talk about, you know, what is normal, it's like, okay, it's a policy of the Harding administration after World War I when we retreated into isolationism and decided not to join the League of Nations. Thank you. Most people wouldn't define it that way, but oh well.
What do you... what are you... Okay. By the time that I was diagnosed, LJ was very, very, very ill.
So in his early teens then?
He was very ill, and so I, you know, they were saying, he's autistic and you're autistic, and what do you do about that? And I was like, you know, I don't care. All I care is about my kid. It's not my pain anymore. And then when he started doing a little bit better, and I actually started coming to your grasp group, and my intentions originally actually
was for LJ.
Was, yes, I want to come down and see how this is so then my LJ can make some friends.
Yeah, exactly.
And stuff, because I wasn't even thinking about helping myself.
Exactly.
Because it's all had been about LJ.
Exactly.
And that was really weird. I walk in, I go, I can finally be myself. And then I walk in, I go, I can be myself. Who the hell is that? No. But then I was okay within 10 minutes. But
you didn't have to mask who you were anymore.
I know, but that was scary. I didn't know.
I mean, it is scary to find out who you really are, because and
to find out I'm as awesome as I hoped I was.
Oh,
yeah. And just like you, right? But when I first got to know young people, I was reading about, you know, there's all this help for young people now and this and that there wasn't for our generation. I was so excited. So I was waiting to see all these young people all doing so well.
Yeah,
because
right.
they had help. They had applied behavioral analysis.
Oh.
And this is what I have to say about today's young people. I have to say, I am so proud of this generation of autistics. I am beyond that, despite besides the torture of ABA, so many of them have survived. So many of them are going on and involved in autistic activism, like Hassiana and Emily Titan.
Yeah.
So many.
Well, Emily Titan's in her 40s, by the way.
I know, but she looks about 17.
Oh, I know, she's itty bitty and has a Nixon nose, but... and she is cute.
She's so cute.
And Cassiana, I first met her, and, you know, because she's originally from Peoria, Illinois.
I know, I remember I was born there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, but, well, it's because, you know, well, what people need to understand is that what ABA has taught people is how to only think of themselves. It's taught in a way, I mean, because most schools are run on behaviorist principles anyway, autistic or not. And it creates selfish people, essentially.
I think it creates passive people.
Well, that, and
compliant people. I think that's one of the reasons that almost all autistics have been sexually abused. Now I know you didn't have ABA, and I didn't have ABA, and I was horribly sexually abused. But
the vulnerability is there,
yeah.
And the reason why I say that is I was sexually abused. This was back 40 years ago during the Ford administration and the beginning of the Carter administration. But most people on the autism spectrum, from what I've read and from what I've heard, and based on my experience, have been sexually abused. But that's because of the vulnerability, and evil likes vulnerable because, and that's just the nature of evil.
Yes.
But the thing is that teaching people how to advocate for themselves, and also people get compliance and obedience mixed up because they aren't the same thing. Compliance implies no free will. Obedience always has an element of free will.
Yes.
And the English language, being as poor as it is in describing things, gets the two mixed up, and they're not synonymous.
Oh, not even close.
No, they're not.
Not even close.
They're not even, no, but I mean, and so, and I think we also, and I read a lot about this, and it's not only an autism thing, but, you know, I read a lot about educational stuff, and it appalls me at how we're teaching to the test without, and yet these people don't know anything.
I know.
I mean, you ask them, okay, you know, I mean...
Teaching them to be a parrot is all.
What?
It's no different than teaching them to be a parrot.
Polly wants a cracker?
Yeah.
I mean, which is not good. I mean, well, and just, I mean, we do need educated populace, but not to beat the Chinese at their economic game. But it used to be education was to create better citizens.
Mm-hmm.
And creating an informed citizenry. I mean, and I don't think we're doing that.
No.
And I think also, I mean, look at the awful presidential race.
Oh my gosh. No. I never thought. Did you ever think?
Donald Trump.
Who'd have thunk?
I
know, huh?
I couldn't stand Donald Trump 30 years ago. But regardless, and Hillary's not that much better. She just is a little more coherent. But regardless, and you know, but how do you teach people to think when you have technology getting in the way?
Right.
I'm wondering if places like Okate can help with that.
That's part of its purpose, that's part of its intention.
And I've never been to Okate one of these days. I've never been to New Mexico.
It's magic.
I'm just interested in finding rocks.
You'll find lots of rocks in Okate. LJ's there right now. We pick him up Tuesday.
But
I'm going to do 2 interviews up there then too.
I mean, I've never been to New Mexico. I mean,
you should go sometime.
No car, no go.
You have a ride. You know it.
Okay, one of these days we will go. How far is it to like Albuquerque or Santa Fe?
You don't go all the way to Albuquerque. I don't know, Bobby.
We don't go that far. It's only 73 miles into New Mexico.
Okay.
Okay, now one thing that I think I disagree with a lot of autistics about is, I mean, I know our government needs to help, and there are a lot of people out there trying to get the help, but the fact of the matter is, I don't think we're ever going to get that much help from the government to help us deal with our issues. I think more we have to work together.
I think we have to create community.
I think the biggest lie, the biggest myth that autistics believe is that we are incapable of cooperation and coordinating together. It's a lie.
Well, of course it's a big lie. I mean, but it's not only that, but the fact that we live in a society that doesn't expect community anyway.
I know.
I mean, that's just America in general. The idea of the lone, the Lone Ranger. Well, the Lone Ranger even had Tonto helping him.
I'm really excited to try to get a community going in
Pueblo.
And we have the 3 houses.
And the chickens.
And then we have the chickens. Next year we're going to have bees.
What about C's, D's, E's, F's, G's, H? You
going to start collecting those? Sleeping with them?
No.
But anyway, yeah, I believe that we can ask the typical community for help.
I think
we need to count on mostly ourselves.
I think there can be some collaboration. I mean,
Yes.
there's community building. There is such thing as community building, but we have to learn from other entities besides the autism stuff, and that is African American history's been informs me a lot. Orthodox Christian history informs me a lot, especially under the Turkish and communist yokes. Turkish yokes with the Greeks and other countries nearby, communist yoke with the Russians until like 1991. You learn from other communities. How do other oppressed and minority communities learn? How do they build community? I think the autism community really needs to learn those things because.
But we do have a different neurology too.
Oh, yes, of course.
But it bothers me so much. People say, well, we're like cats, and so we can't cooperate. I'm like, yes, a group of cats is called a clouder.
I mean,
you can have a herd of cats is a clouder.
I mean, and cats do know how to create community. They're just different about it.
Absolutely.
And all humans, autistic humans included, do want community. We just go about it differently. We don't always have to be the glad-handing LBJ types who's kissed someone else's ass. I think also one of the big myths I see in the autism community is, especially with autistic guys, they think they need, a girlfriend. It's like, I feel like saying, you don't need mommy and you don't need a slave. And that's what a lot of them want, is mommy or slave. It's like, no, girls don't want that. Women don't want that.
I know. I think in a lot of ways, autistic women have it easier.
Oh, I think so too, actually.
So many ways.
Oh, absolutely. I can get away
autistic-
with a lot
than
more being a
autistic men.
itty
Yes.
bitty petite woman.
Yes, I think a lot more. And autistic men, in some ways, about relationships seem more clueless.
Well,
I have a friend. I'll give an example of a friend of mine who's also a friend of yours.
No.
And so he was telling me about how he liked all these different women. He thought they would like him, then they would unfriend him on Facebook, and he couldn't figure out why. And so I talked to him, and I said, to try to figure out why. And he said, well, I don't know. And he said, when I talk about sex, I said, what are you doing talking about sex? He goes, well, I'm autistic, and so many autistic people are asexual. And
Not
so
necessarily.
when I meet a woman, I don't want her to think, oh, nothing can go anywhere because I am asexual. So I have to let her know I'm highly sexual. And then they don't want to have anything to do with
No,
me
that's because people don't want their slong to be.
But that is so common. That kind of thing is so common.
And that's because our
males.
That's because our society expects men to be hyper masculine and be hypersexual. It has to do with how we bring up our boys, and I'm talking non-autistic boys.
I know.
We expect our boys to be hyper masculine and hypersexual when in traditional societies, especially traditional Christian societies, no, celibacy is the rule until marriage.
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to be celibate until you're married. You don't sow your oats, you keep your oats. And this guy that you're talking about, he either wants mommy or a slave. I bet you that's part of it. And it's like women don't want to be mommy and women don't want to be a slave. They want to be treated as equal.
I think that's what he would like, but he doesn't know how to go about it.
He doesn't know how to go about it, and society hasn't taught him how to go about it.
I know.
Because,
And so many of the young, especially, well, for me, I've always been clueless, but I thought, before I found out otherwise, that all these young people were being taught some good life skills. Not
manners.
Yeah. But when you spend 40 hours a week on applied behavioral analysis, you're going to miss out on a lot, if you're autistic or not.
Well, and ABA can only go so far because
I feel it can go to hell.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, it came from the depths of hell anyway. So
yeah. Anyway, you know what?
What?
We're gonna have to.
Okay. Well, my last word is
yes.
Besides choking on a hairball, is meow. And if you want to come back and do more, fine. It's not an if, it's a when.